TVs, computers, all that stuff gets cheaper and better.
Right. Moore's Law and all that.
But what about the things you need for basic family formation? Housing, childcare, healthcare, education. Those prices have skyrocketed, often up 150, 180%, even more since the 90s.
So the fun stuff gets cheap, the essential stuff gets prohibitively expensive.
Exactly. Prosperity gets channeled into funding distractions, which then makes it easier to justify not having kids because we can't afford it. The analysis basically says our priorities got warped.
And there's a quote in the material.
Yeah, it's blunt. When sex becomes a toy, humanity becomes a toy factory. The argument is our whole economic system inadvertently restructured itself to produce low-cost distractions instead of supporting the foundations needed for society to, continue existing.
Okay, so if culture and demographics are heading in this direction, it's bound to affect major institutions. Education seems like a prime target in this analysis. The sources talk about something called the barista paradox.
Yeah, the barista paradox is, it's kind of a perfect, sad little snapshot of how education has been devalued, according to this view.
How does it work?
Think about it. Millions of people take on massive debt, spend years getting college degrees, often specifically motivated by the desire to avoid low-wage service jobs like being a barista.
Right, get the degree, get the good job.
But then what happens? They graduate, often with degrees that the market doesn't actually value that highly, burdened with all this debt. And they end up working as a barista anyway, just to try and pay off the loans for the degree that was supposed to save them from that fate.
So education becomes a consumption good, a status signal, maybe even a trap, instead of a reliable path to competence and a better life.
That's the argument. And it leads to this really profound sense of alienation and commodification of human interaction, as sources use this example.
The lonely guy and the barista.
Yeah. The young man in the city may be feeling isolated. He goes to get coffee. The barista smiles, performs friendliness, because it's her job as part of the transaction. But he misreads that paid-for affirmation as genuine interest, genuine connection.
Because he's starved for the real thing.
Exactly. It's a commodification of basic human warmth in a society that, according to this view, is increasingly transactional and validation-focused, not genuinely connected.
And this erosion of competence, the rise of transactional validation, this feeds into another really controversial idea from the sources, invisible feminism. How do they define that? Because that sounds like a minefield.
It is a very charged term, and again, we're reporting on the source's argument here. They define invisible feminism as a process rooted in, basic sexual attraction. The claim is that men, often unconsciously, are biologically driven to seek female validation. And this translates into the workplace.